Teodora Altobano Ruiz, complainant Attys, Wilfredo A. Ruiz, Cherry and Dela Cruz, and Francisco S. Benedicto. 3. Respondents. AC number 13132 January 31, 2023. Facts. On June 4, 2008, complainant Teodora Altobano Ruiz sued her husband, attorney Wilfredo A. Ruiz, one of the respondents, for violation of the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act and applied for a permanent protection order. Complainant accused attorney Ruiz of inflicting on her physical violence, emotional stress, and economic abuse by depriving her and her children of support. On September 10, 2008, the Regional Trial Court Branch 162 of Pasig ruled in her favor and granted her petition for permanent protection order, which includes directing the respondent to provide support to the petitioner and their child Luri Jaron and even their child Irel Mikhail, if still studying and unemployed, equivalent to 50% for the time being, of the income or salaries of the respondent from the following sources, to wit: 1. His monthly salaries as reflected in his income tax return for the years 2006 and 2007 of his law office, whichever is higher. 2. His monthly income from Benedicto Pormento and Ruiz law office. And 3. His monthly income from Nova Star Consultancy and Trading Incorporated, to be withheld regularly by his employer or partnership/companies and to automatically remit them directly to the offended party in person. Failure of said law office, partnership, or company to remit and or withhold, or any delay in the remittance of support to the offended party without justifiable cause, shall render the respondent or his employer, his law office, his partnership, or his company liable for indirect contempt of court. Such judgment shall be immediately executory, as attorney Ruiz no longer appealed this decision. On July 16, 2023, complainant filed a motion for execution on support, motion for execution, before the RDC, alleging that attorney Ruiz still has not complied with the portion of the permanent protection order pertaining to support despite the decision being final and executory. Attorney Ruiz opposed this, arguing that the permanent protection order has already been revoked by virtue by operation of law. He claimed that the complainant no longer needed protection as she was already cohabiting with another man. He added that a petition to nullify their marriage was already pending. Worse, he attempted to hide his earnings and properties by executing jointly with his mistress, Radelia C. A memorandum of agreement with undertaking dated January 16, 2012, and notarized on even date. It states that respondent and his mistress have been engaged for more than 5 years and have decided to fix their properties from the fruit of their earnings from 2005 until they decide to get married. They have thus agreed that all acquired real or personal property shall be temporarily placed or registered under the name of the mistress' son, John Paul C., with the knowledge and consent of attorney Ruiz's daughter, Mikhail Ruiz. Further, when attorney Ruiz and his mistress would decide to get married 2 years after the dissolution of the respondent's marriage with the complainant, they agreed to divide the real properties already acquired and still to be acquired, which temporarily be placed under the name of the mistress' son, John Paul C. Finally, the mistress has agreed with attorney Ruiz to exclude the latter's youngest son, Luri Jaron Ruiz, of any financial support or share from his earnings, provided that the mistress shall allow the respondent for the visitation of his son when he desires. Issue: whether or not attorney Wilfredo A. Ruiz shall be disbarred from the practice of law for a. economic abuse and b. committing falsehood and exploiting court processes. Held: yes. The Supreme Court finds respondent attorney Ruiz guilty of violating various rules in the Code of Professional Responsibility. The Code of Professional Responsibility provides: Rule 1.01. A lawyer shall not engage in unlawful, dishonest, immoral, or deceitful conduct. Rule 1.02. A lawyer shall not counsel or abet activities aimed at defiance of the law, or at lessening confidence in the legal system. Rule 7.03. A lawyer shall not engage in conduct that adversely reflects on his fitness to practice law, nor shall he, whether in public or private life, behave in a scandalous manner to the discredit of the legal profession. Here, Attorney Ruiz left the complainant and their children, maintained an illicit affair, and brazenly recorded their unlawful relationship and agreement in a public document, and worse, concealed his properties beyond the reach of his family and the court. Attorney Ruiz continued to show his propensity to disobey the law by claiming he had no obligation to support Jaren, who was purportedly not his biological child. He bolstered this argument by presenting judicial decree of nullity of his marriage to complainant in his motion for reconsideration before the IBP Board of Governors. The Supreme Court held that the argument is totally baseless. Article 54 of the Family Code provides that children conceived or born before the judgment of annulment or absolute nullity of the marriage under Article 36 has become final and executory shall be considered legitimate. Children conceived or born during the marriage of the parents are legitimate. For another, the legitimate status of Jaren is not affected by the declaration of nullity of marriage between complainant and Attorney Ruiz. Rule 10.01. A lawyer shall not do any falsehood, nor consent to the doing of any in court, nor shall he mislead, or allow the court to be misled by any artifice. Rule 10.01. A lawyer shall not do any falsehood, nor consent to the doing of any in court, nor shall he mislead, or allow the court to be misled by any artifice. Rule 10.03. A lawyer shall observe the rules of procedure and shall not misuse them to defeat the ends of justice. Rule 12.04. A lawyer shall not unduly delay a case, impede the execution of a judgment, or misuse court processes. Here, Attorney Ruiz used different bogus addresses to deceive the court and its legal processes, unduly delayed the case, impeded the execution of a judgment, and misused court processes. He abused his position as a lawyer as well as his knowledge of the law with his continued and intentional refusal to heed court orders. Furthermore, instead of admitting his fault and repeatedly evading the permanent protection order and the writ of execution, Attorney Ruiz blamed the complainant for not filing a motion to execute the order of support. The permanent protection order is a permanent one, which shall be effective until revoked by a court upon application of the person in whose favor the order was issued.